Hello children, how are you all? I'm your Srinivas sir. Today I'm going to teach you the first lesson from Beehive Reader of Grade 9 English. The title of the first lesson is The Fun They Had. This lesson was written by Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov was born on January 2nd, 1920 and he was died on April 6th, 1992. He was an American writer and professor of biochemistry at Boston University. He was known for his works of science fiction and popular science. Asimov was a prolific writer who wrote or edited more than 500 books. We can see a couple of his great books in the first slide. They are I, Robot, The End of Eternity, The Naked Sun, and The Foundation. And before diving into the explanation of the lesson, I'm going to give you the outline of the story. The present story, The Fun They Had by Isaac Asimov, is a futuristic story set in 2157 AD. The story writer envisions what the school and education system will look like in 22nd century. The story opens with Margie writing in her diary about an old book that Tommy had found. Margie remembers her grandfather once talked about his grandfather who went to an actual school where the children went for education and where they were taught by human teachers. However, Margie and Tommy live in the future world of 22nd century where education was completely computerized. They don't have schools. They have a special study room where a computer teaches them. The computer teacher is programmed and adjusted according to the needs of each child. Now and then the computer teacher develops some fault which is fixed by a county inspector. So here both the Tommy and Margie wonder at the book found by Tommy in his attic. They wonder at book. As they read books on screen of computer teacher, Margie feels the computer teacher is boring. She does not like the mechanical teaching and learning. She also wonders how much fun would be studying in a school with other children from a human teacher. So now I am going to explain the first paragraph. This paragraph begins with the name of the character, Margie. Margie is an important character from this story. So I'm going to read the first paragraph. Look at the first paragraph. Yeah. Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary. On the page headed 17th May 2157, she wrote, "Today Tommy found a real book." In this paragraph, Margie is the main character, already I told you, of this story. She is a girl of 11 years of age. She writes a diary on the night of 17th May 2157. Right now, we are living in 2020. As told earlier, the story is set in the future and it is set in the year 2157. So almost 140 years from now. At that time, Margie writes an entry in her diary and she writes that Tommy found a real book. And she is feeling so strange because in her times real books do not exist. They only have e-books. E-books is nothing but virtual books. So books in the format of print on paper are extinct and so. Margie is astonished to see a real book. Do you understand this paragraph? Yes. Let's move on to the next line from the first paragraph. Yes. It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on papers. They turned the pages. Yeah, let me change this page. Yeah. They turned the pages, which were yellow and crinkly, and it was awfully funny to read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to on a screen, you know. And then, when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that it had when they read it the first time. So these lines and these paragraphs tell us that Margie reminded of her grandfather. He told her that his grandfather studied all the books that were printed on paper. So, this kind of a book is historical or ancient for them. Something which they cannot believe, they can't imagine also. So, can you please tell me the meaning of crinkly? Do you know that? Crinkly is nothing but it's like something that is crushed, or it has many folds or lines on it. So in the next paragraph, Margie is talking about the book that Tommy had found. She says that the pages of the book had turned yellow and they had been crushed. As it was very old, the children found it very funny to read the words which stood still. Do you know the meaning of stood still here? Stood still means motionless, no movement. They're not moving. Okay. As the words are printed on the pages, they did not move. So, on the other hand, the books that Margie and Tommy read were online books. Online books means e-books. So, in the e-books, how it happens, the text keeps on moving as your screen moves, but it was different in the books printed on paper. Isn't it? Okay. Let me move on to the second paragraph. So this paragraph begins with Gee. Gee, said Tommy, what a waste. When you are through with the book, you just throw it away. I guess our television screen must have had 1,000,000 books on it, and it's good for plenty more. I wouldn't throw it away. Same with mine, said Margie. She was 11 and hadn't seen as many telebooks as Tommy had. He was 13. So these words are, these lines are very simple to understand. So even though I'll explain this, so I'll give you the outline of these lines. Tommy disliked the printed book. So he said that it was a waste because he felt that whenever you complete reading a book, we have to throw it away. We cannot have some different story written on the same book, right? On the contrary, he felt that the computer screen was very good because the same screen had shown him many books and still he could read many more on it. He would not have to throw that screen away when once he had read a particular story. So Margie also agreed with Tommy's opinion. Margie was 11 years of age and she has not read as many books as Tommy had because Tommy was older to Margie. He was 13 years of age. So shall we move on to next lines in the second paragraph? Yeah. She said, where did you find it? In my house, he pointed without looking because he was busy reading in the attic. Attic? What is attic here? Attic is nothing but a space just below the roof and it can be used as a storeroom. What is it about? School. So here Tommy replied to Margie that he found the printer book on the storeroom of his house. He was so busy reading the book that he did not remove his glance from the book. Margie asked that what the book was about. Tommy replied that the book was about school, about going to school, about life at school. And now I am going to read the third paragraph. Margie was scornful. School? What's there to write about school? I hate school. Margie always hated school, but Now she hated it more than ever. The mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. So there's another new word here, scornful. What is scornful? It's like showing that something is worthless, or show your dislike for something. Okay. Yeah. What does this paragraph tell us? Yes. This paragraph tells us that now, why did Margie hate school? Let's know why she had uh, hated hated school. Margie's school was a virtual classroom. It was not a real school like we have today. So, in the future, we are thinking that the schools will be virtual classrooms. There will be machines that will be teaching the children. Margie hated this machine because it was giving her so many tests in geography which were very difficult for her, and she was performing very bad. Finally, her mother thought that there was something wrong with the machine, and so she had called the county inspector to check it. Who is the county inspector? Who repairs or who gives appropriate programs to the computers? Okay, and in the continuation of this paragraph, so this is the fourth paragraph actually. He was a round little man with a red face and a whole box of tools with dials and wires. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple, then took the teacher apart. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again, but he knew how all right. And after an hour or so, there it was again, large and black and ugly, with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. Here, what happened? Something happened against to her wishes, isn't it? So Margie wished something, but here happened against to her. The country inspector came to check the mechanical teacher, and this was the description of that character. He was a round little man. How is he? He was a round little man and he had a red face. He was carrying a big box full of tools with dials and wires. So this man opened the machine. He was there to repair the computer. Once he had opened the computer, Margie wished that he would be unable to close it back because she did not like the computer. She did not like to study from this teacher, but the man was an expert, and within an hour he had repaired the computer and had closed it and made it ready to teach Margie once again. Margie gives a description of the computer. She feels that it is very huge. It is black in color and she dislikes its appearance. It has a big screen and all the lessons appear on the screen, and many questions are asked on the same screen which are difficult for Margie. So next, shall we move on to the next lines? Yeah, let me move to the next page. That wasn't so bad. The part Margie hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. She always had to write them out in a punch code they made her learn when she was 6 years old. And the mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. So, what's there? This paragraph tells us that Margie hated this mechanical teacher the most. Margie hates this mechanical teacher the most because she had to submit her homework and test papers to it. Margie had to write her homework and her test papers in a particular punch code, that is a computing language. She had learned the language at the age of 6. The machine checked the papers and calculated her marks in a few seconds. So, let's discuss the fifth paragraph in the next session. So, until then, read the paragraphs again and you underline the difficult words which you don't understand, you cannot understand. So I'll give you the meanings and I'll give you the assignment regarding the vocabulary from these four paragraphs. Please get ready. I'll see you.